Welcome to the Michael Kouly Podcast on rethinking leadership. In these episodes, we will look at leadership with a fresh perspective and take your leadership effectiveness to the next level. For more information, go to KoulyInstitute.com and follow Michael's continuous learning insights on social media.
You ask what makes my understanding of leadership different. I'll tell you, and this might be surprising a little bit. What makes my understanding of leadership different is that for me, the purpose is not really to exercise leadership. For me, life happens at a deeper level. For me, leadership is nothing more than just a process, a mechanism, a technique, an intervention we make for a deeper purpose, for a higher purpose, for something that is so fundamental to our life, for something that's about giving meaning to our life, for something that create tangible differences that make life better for all of us. So for me, leadership is not the issue. For me, the starting point is to ask this fundamental question. What is our experience of life? What is the quality of our experience of life? How are we experiencing life? Is it the way it should be? Are we living life the way it should be? Now, this might sound a general question, but there is a way of making it practical. And I'll tell you what this way is. Think of your kids. And if you don't have children of yours, think of the children of somebody in your family. Think of kids that matter to you. Or imagine one day when you have kids. What kind of life would you wish for your kids to have? What kind of life would you wish for your loved ones to have? That's the ultimate criteria. That's what really matters. Leadership can only have meaning if it's in the service of life. If it is about mobilizing people, having an intervention, saying something, doing something that will contribute in some way or form to making your loved ones, yourself, people around you, elevate their quality of life to live the life that you think they deserve to live as human beings. Because what's the point of life if we don't live in dignity? What's the point of life if we don't live in joy and in happiness? We talked in the past about that all living organisms, all people, all societies. I'm saying all. I'm generalizing. With that, of course, there are some exceptions, but they don't make the rule. The rule is all of us want to have a happy and peaceful life. I have never heard of somebody who wakes up in the morning, looks in the mirror, and says, "I'm going to looks at his image in the mirror, and talks to his image and says, I'm going to make your life today a remarkably miserable day." I haven't seen people who do that. The people I know, I think most people wake up in the morning hoping that they will have a beautiful day. At least hoping, if not succeeding in doing so. I have not heard of anybody committing suicide, right, after leaving a note saying, I'm living a life that's so beautiful. I'm so happy in my life. There's so much peace in my life, peace in my heart, peace in my mind. I have great relationship. I'm enjoying so much my life. Every moment of my existence, I'm enjoying it so much that I can't take it anymore. I can't take this joy and happiness anymore, and therefore I'm going to kill myself and put an end to this life. I haven't heard of this. Almost in every case that at least I know of, when people commit suicide, the note they leave behind is that life has become so unbearable, and that there's no light in the end of the tunnel, there's no hope. So then the question becomes, what's the point? What's the point of continuing to live a life that is turbulent, that is miserable, that is full of despair, that's full of pain, right? Especially when there's no hope. If there was hope in the end, okay, there's a case to be made for resilience. There's a case to be made for holding on. There's a case to be made for tolerance, tolerating all the suffering, because at the end it will end and there will be happy days. But if that doesn't exist, then people take out their life. They take it out. So, and they end their life. So what drives people, what drives all of us, is this natural yearning we have, this inborn, innate desire. Like the sunflower, how the sunflower always follows the sun. That's how we're designed. We are designed to seek peace in our relationship, peace in our heart, peace in our mind. And this is the most basic requirement, because without peace, the opposite of peace is conflict, is tension. And the end result of conflict is people hurt each other, and in many cases maybe even death. People die because of that. So the basic requirement is peace, and then upon peace we can build a higher level of existence, a higher level of being. And then by talking about joy, by talking about happiness, by talking about living in bliss, by talking about fulfillment, by talking about well-being. So what we really want, and that's the basic, is to live in peace and to live in joy. So if you ask me what's the purpose of what's the purpose of life, I can tell you from my experience, and you ask yourself also this question, everybody ask yourself this question: what is that you really, really want from life? In my view, the most common question will be, I want to live a happy and peaceful, fulfilling, beautiful life. And if you don't have clarity on that question, then ask yourself, what kind of life would you like, or would you wish that your kids live? And I'm sure in almost every case, most cases, the answer would be, I want my kids to be happy, to live a happy and fulfilling and a beautiful life. I want them to enjoy this amazing thing that we call life. So that's the rule. Therefore, coming back to leadership, that's the fundamental question to ask. This is the fundamental question to ask, is what's the quality of my life? What's the quality of the life of my family? What's the quality of the relationship that I have with my spouse, with my children, with my neighbors, with my siblings, with my parents, with my colleagues, with my customers, with my bosses, with my society? What's the quality of the relationship I have with my environment, with nature around me, with my pets, with animals and planets and the other components of life that we live with, right? What's the quality of life of our society? And when we walk, when we drive to work, and when we walk in the streets, what's the expression that we see on people's faces? Are they happy? What do the streets look like? Are they clean? Do people live a dignified life? Is this the life that human beings can and should live? Are we living the life that we can live? It's like somebody who's rich, right? But he's living a miserable life. He's living absolutely, having the worst food, living in a dirty place, in an unhealthy house. Is this appropriate? Of course it's not, because they can do much better than that. They have money and they have the capabilities and the capacity and the means to live a beautiful life. So it's the same thing for us as human beings. We have the mental, emotional, spiritual, intellectual, social capability, creative capability to have an absolutely beautiful life. We can do that. It is possible that we can do that. It has happened in so many times in history. Look at even now. Look at the state of the world. There are countries that are miserable, and there are countries that live an amazing life. Just look at the index of happiness that is published every year by the United Nations or by similar world incredible organizations. There are societies where people are happy. You walk in the street, you see art, you see even if you don't see richness, but you see peace, you see people who have smiles on their faces. At least there's serenity on their faces. Even when there are problems and some difficulties, but everything remains in proportion. It remains in its natural proportion. So life goes on. So that's the ultimate question. What's the quality of life that we are experiencing? If the quality of life that we're experiencing is dignified, is peaceful, is beautiful, it is the kind of life that we say, you know what, I wish my kids would live the same life. I wish my grandkids would live the same life that we are living. I wish people I love would live the life that I have lived so far, because it has been an amazing life. Then if your life is of that standard, then forget about leadership. We don't need leadership. In fact, the meaning of leadership in that context, when life is so good, the purpose of leadership in that context is to protect what you have, to protect your life, to protect that kind of beauty that exists in your life and in the life of people around you. So if you're living a beautiful life, if everything is going fine, if you have peace and joy in your life, don't mess it up. Please do not exercise leadership. Focus on one thing. In fact, leadership in that context would mean just enjoy and treasure what you have, be grateful, and have more of the same. But if it's not, then the question becomes, what do we do? Then the question becomes, what is it that we should do? Right? How do we mobilize ourselves as individuals, as groups, as families, as societies, as neighborhoods, as organizations, as departments, as teams, as nations, as a global community? How do we mobilize ourselves? What is it that we should do, right, or change in ourselves, so that we move our reality from its current suboptimal or miserable or unacceptable state into a better state, into a state where life, as I said, is the kind of life that we wish for our kids. So leadership is a process. That's why I said the question is not really about leadership. This is not the real issue. This is not the ultimate thing. The ultimate thing is the quality of life. So leadership in that context is just a process. It's a mechanism where we use some scientific, well-researched, well-designed techniques, interventions that we make in life around us, in our environment, right? So that we help this environment, we help ourselves, our families, our teams, our organization, our colleagues to summon their courage, to summon their hope, to summon their strengths, to summon every ounce of genius that exists within us as human beings, right, into creating a new reality, a better reality, a reality that celebrates life, a reality that can create a kind of life that is worth of being a human life, that's compatible with our abilities, that is worth worth living, not only for us, but for all kinds of creatures around us, because it is possible to create a better world. It is possible to create a better habitat. It is possible that we make this small planet that's nothing but, nothing more than a microscopic speck of dust. When you look at it, from the perspective of the universe, it's just a small speck of dust. Very small speck of dust. Completely insignificant. That is orbiting a normal, insignificant star we call the sun, in some, in one of the 100 billion galaxies that exist in the universe. We can make this speck of dust a beautiful place, not only for us, for all plants, for all, animals, for every kind of being. We can make it. It is possible that we can do that. It is possible. We have what it takes. We have the mind, and we have the right. We have the right mind, and we have